Welcome to Licking Non-Vanilla, a sex-positive hour of talk about kink, sexual mores, and writing dirty words. So grab a cup of cocoa, your favorite easy chair, and the lube as we go sailing into the dark, sweet waters of all things naughty. On Licking Non-Vanilla with your hosts Ralph Greco Jr. and M. Christian.
Hey guys, girls, and everything in between or whatever you are. You have reached Licking Non-Vanilla, and I'm one of your hosts, Ralph Greco Jr. I think I'm one of your hosts. And across the continent from me, but not that far from my heart, is
Chris, otherwise known as M. Christian, from Eugene, Oregon.
yeah. And Chris and I go way back, further than we wanted to remember, right, Chris? Yeah, from
Dinosaurs ruled the earth.
That's right. That's true. This is, I was just told by our producer, this is our 49th, going to be 49th episode, I think. So
Wow.
we're closing in on 50, and we're very happy to have Lilith with us today. We're going to talk about Lilith, about what she does, who she is, what she's about. I found her, I believe, on Twitter, right, Lilith? Wait, did we find each other on Twitter? Is that where we found each other?
Yes, it was on Twitter.
Did you do a movie or a scene in something that I reviewed? Is that how we connected?
I I did a scene with Blush
That's what it was,
Erotica
Blush
recently.
Erotica. Because I've written for Blush, and Chris, you know, we've done a lot of stuff on Blush. We've done a lot of blogs on them and press releases, and we've talked to one or two of them, their stars before. Anyway, so was that your first scene with Blush?
That was my first scene with Blush, and that was my first studio
Oh,
scene.
okay.
Very cool.
So you were a virgin before that scene, as far as so to speak. What had you done before the scene in the adult
Um,
world?
Before the scene, I started back in 2019 just with
Okay.
camming. From there, I kept having people in my room asking about
Mm-hmm.
OnlyFans. So I dove
Okay.
into that for a
For a
minute.
minute. Okay.
Um, yeah, well,
Yeah.
I'm still on it, but it's a little crazy right now. And then I was doing a lot of working with someone named Photos by the
Mm-hmm.
Gent, doing
Okay.
photography, and doing modeling for a lot of boudoir and
Mm-hmm.
nude photos. And that was
Mm-hmm.
super fun. And then I did a few scenes with, I wouldn't really call them studios, but other
Mm-hmm.
creators per se. Um, I did a few scenes with them, and then I did my first scene with Blush Erotica.
Okay. So can you tell us? It's funny. You gave like a little bit of a stutter over the OnlyFans thing. So I'm wondering, did you find OnlyFans problematic, or just not to your liking, or just not where you want to be?
I'm
Okay.
still doing it. I'm still on it. It's just I'm not sure if I really like the handle as much. It's very oversaturated. It's very
Mm-hmm.
well-known name.
hmm
Everyone and their mother
Yeah.
has an OnlyFans
Yeah.
nowadays.
Yeah. I think we've heard that across the board, right, Chris? That's like
Oh,
yeah.
absolutely. That and the management's a little odd.
Yeah.
They have a tendency to kind of like do strange things periodically
Right.
that kind of shakes things up.
Right.
And then I think it was last year that they decided for a minute to completely shut
hmm
down on
Oh,
allowing
I
porn
remember
on
that. I
there.
remember that, Chris. That was like,
And then they
yeah, that
changed
was
their
like that had like
mind.
a half a day or whatever. It was like, and everybody was freaking
hmm
like, OnlyFans is not doing porn. What the hell are they gonna do? You know, very
Yeah.
strange. Very because I think everybody worried it was going in the way of uh
Tumblr with
Tumblr.
the
Tumblr, right?
Festa Sosta
Yeah,
laws, I
yeah.
believe it
And
was.
and then everybody got scared, right? Because everybody's like, well, it's gonna go the way of Tumblr. What's gonna happen with OnlyFans? You know, but And there's so
Exactly.
had you Lilith had you gone to or considered other like platforms like ManyVids or any of that kind of stuff, or loyal fans?
I am. I am sitting down and signing up. I actually have a
Okay,
whole list because I want to get back into
okay,
camming. So I remade my free cams. I remade a new
okay.
chatterbait. I'm starting
Mm-hmm.
essentially from scratch because I don't remember some of my
Okay.
old logins.
So Lilith, tell us how a nice girl like you ended up here. How did you get into all this? And I don't know if you're a nice girl, so
It wasn't really much of.
you
I
seem
think
like
I'm
a
a
very
nice
nice girl.
girl.
She seems nice, right, so far?
I definitely agree.
Yeah.
I get nice girl vibes
But
like
nice girl
crazy.
vibes. I'm not talking, Chris. I'm not talking the vibes you're getting from below her neck. I'm just talking about his pretty face. But so Lilith, how'd you get into all this? Tell us how you did.
It wasn't really surprising. So all of my family knows, and none of
Mm-hmm.
them are surprised. I was very fortunate to have been raised in a very sex
Good,
positive
good.
home, in a very sex positive
Mm-hmm.
environment. I think I was raised. Oh, what is my
You're
phone
good. You're
doing?
good.
Okay, I
It happens to us.
I was raised by my
Okay.
stepmother, and she was
Mm-hmm.
incredible with that. Um, I was always taught that everything is natural. I was taught that no matter what you did for work, for the most part, as long as it was legal, ethical,
Mm-hmm.
moral,
Just go with it. Yeah.
it was
Yeah.
income, it was
Yeah.
work, it was valid, hard
Right.
work. So I always had a joke that going into puberty when I was like 13, 14 years old, obviously I had much bigger chest than the other
Okay.
girls. And I
Can you
always
can you
had a
can you
joke
do that?
with my
Can you do that
mother
again,
that
just to make a point? Thank you very much. Go
I always had a joke with my mother that I don't want to be in student debt. I'm just going to be a
ahead. Okay.
stripper. And then as I started getting closer to 18, I was like, well, is this a
Right.
joke? I could go do that.
Right.
Unfortunately, I have no coordination.
Right.
I can't
Okay.
dance
Well,
for shit.
that's
So
not
that didn't
okay.
happen.
Right. Okay. But you kind of then you just fell into camming. Is that was the first thing you did in the adult world?
Uh, that was the first
Okay.
thing. So I was also at that time, I had just turned 18. I've actually had my Twitter since March 2019. Like, I will cry if it gets
Right.
taken
Right.
down. Or, yeah. And I was a single mom.
Okay.
It was a month after my 18th birthday. I was a single
Mm-hmm.
mom. I needed a way that I could work from
Mm-hmm.
home, that I could make money.
Right.
And I came across camming.
Wow. Okay. Well, why not? Right. I mean, so Chris, I'll let you jump in here because I got a couple questions. But you jump in and ask her. Ask a little what's most on your mind, other than the fact you want to see her do this again. But,
I'm not. I'm a little agog here,
I
so
know.
it's
I
like
know.
actually
I get the
it's
paper.
yeah. But yeah, I just think it's fascinating. It's like, that first of all, it's wonderful your family and you were raised in such a positive environment because so many people have to really have hard times with that because I mean, all it takes is one person to blow the whistle and your life can like fall apart because, family is intolerant or whatever. But I think that gives you a wonderful benefit because there's nothing wrong with this. It's like it's as consensual, then go ahead and do it. And these days, there's so many ways of getting your pictures and videos out there. It's fantastic.
So, what, Lilith? What would you say? Okay, so let's because there's kind of two different worlds here: camming and scenes. Or do you not see them as two different worlds? Do you see them, the parameters and the limits?
I I definitely see them as two
Okay,
different
okay,
worlds, but under the same umbrella of
same
sex
rubric.
work.
Okay, so what? Obviously, there's differences that Chris and I and everybody knows the differences. But to your mind, what are the glaring differences that when I say camming and when I say shooting a scene with blush erotica, what are the glaring differences to you?
A big glaring difference is safety.
Okay, explain that.
Um,
Hmm?
when I am camming and I am behind a computer screen, for the most part, nobody can touch
Right.
me. My safety is 100%
Mm-hmm.
guaranteed. There is nobody in this room except for me and my
Mm-hmm.
partner. Um, and going out and shooting a scene, that's something I was very nervous with because I have a slight history in my 18s of being scammed and having some not so great
Mm-hmm.
experiences
Mm,
trying to get into the porn
Mm-hmm.
industry. Um, so I was actually very hesitant and very nervous to work with Blush Erotica at
Okay.
first. Of course, they are
Yeah, they're nice
amazing.
people. Yeah.
100% safe with them, but didn't
Well,
know
how would you
that
know? You wouldn't
before
know.
meeting them.
So tell us then, for the uninitiated, how that happened. How you even came to, because like you're saying, well, you're safe in the cam cocoon, so to speak, and then you're like, well, I'm gonna venture out to here, and I'm have trepidation, of course, as you would. So how did you find Blush, or did they find you, and how did it progress into shooting a scene for them?
So they actually found me on
Okay.
Twitter and they reached out to me a couple
Mm-hmm.
times. And like I said, I just wasn't too sure. So I brushed them off a couple
Mm-hmm.
times. Really wish I
Mm-hmm.
didn't. And I ended up doing some photos with them
Okay.
first. And then a year, I want to say a year and a half later, I just shot that scene
Mm-hmm.
recently.
You did, yeah. That's where I saw that scene. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, they seem to have Chris. We've gone over this before with them. They do seem to have a wide variety of types that they use. Body types, ethnicities,
mm-hmm.
um, and also the scripts themselves. Because I've written some scripts, and I've heard the other scripts that have been written for them. And it's a pretty big spectrum that they seem to mind. Did you find that when you worked with them, did you say to yourself, I'm setting myself up here for maybe future work? Like, I have a feeling that I could work with this company again and again.
Yes,
Mm,
I actually have another scene planned with them
cool,
at the end of the month.
very cool,
Oh,
very
very
cool.
cool.
I am very excited. I want to continue working
Yeah.
with them. I would love to continue branching out and doing other scenes with other
Mm-hmm.
studios. I find that a lot of what they do is very much focused around inclusivity,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would agree.
which I think is
Yeah, I
amazing.
would agree. I think it seems to be a
Um,
fair workplace, and everybody seems to be welcome there.
I've heard nothing but
I
good things about them.
definitely,
Mm.
yeah, they are amazing. I definitely don't know if I would be more accepted or able to get scenes in the more mainstream world. Maybe today, in this modern age, since there is a new focus on inclusivity and different body
Mm-hmm.
types. But I know if I was around back in the '80s in the porn, I would not have gotten in.
Well, okay, and that may be obvious to older porn fans. I mean, Chris, and I think you're darling already, so we're not even, it has nothing to do, and that's But why would you say something like that? What you see yourself, and you're honest with yourself, and you said, okay, I have a certain look and a body type, whatever. So what makes you think you probably maybe not have worked so much back in the day? What about it's, yeah, obviously it's not your
I know
your looks. I mean, it's got to be something else.
I know back in the day that they kind of had, and some of the larger companies still
Mm-hmm.
do. They have a very specific look to all their
Mm-hmm.
models, and all
Mm-hmm.
of their models look like the unattainable female beauty
Mm-hmm.
ideal, like Victoria's Secret
Mm-hmm.
models, a lot of Playboy,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of them. Brazzers, I think, only has like 3 or 4 BBW models
I think that's true. Yeah,
in
yeah.
a
It's funny you
very
say that because we just did some press on them this week, and yeah, I know. I would say that's true. But you're not. But you would.
Mm-hmm.
We said this before. You and I were talking about this on Twitter. Would you describe yourself as a BBW, or would you not?
I would not.
Okay.
I don't think that that title is for me.
Okay.
I can stand up real quick. I'm
Oh, please do.
not like the tall, skinny model girl. I definitely got some weight on me. I definitely have curves on
Right.
me.
That's true.
I am half Cambodian,
Okay.
so I
Yeah. No. Definitely.
am not the
Yeah.
I'm not the like the Victoria's Secret model aesthetic.
But you're also not you.
I'm not super slim and toned,
But you don't think you're BBW,
but
right?
yeah. No, I would say I'm an average
Yeah, I
body.
think so.
I would say that I am.
Chris? And we don't mean to like look at you and assess you, but whoa, what would you say, Chris? I mean, generally speaking, she probably doesn't fall into a BBW category, does she?
That's really what you would consider yourself. I
Yeah,
mean, there's like all kinds of subcategories.
that's
I
true.
mean, if and this is just purely off the cuff, and hit me in the head if I'm wrong, but more like more chubby than necessarily like some of the larger
Yeah,
models.
yeah,
But again, it really has to do with like how you define yourself,
yeah, it's
because
true.
there's like, and that's true. It's like, that's one thing about having a diverse, whole range of body types, is like it's not just what other people might call you, but what you consider yourself to be too. So it's like it's very welcoming that way, which I think is really very cool.
Well, also, you did mention you're Cambodian. You said, is that your background?
Yes,
Okay,
I am ethnically I am half Cambodian.
okay. So maybe back in the day we didn't see a lot of ladies that looked like you, ethnicity
Hmm.
wise. No, seriously. I mean, it wasn't. Um, I'm just trying to think, Chris. I mean, back in the day, the aesthetic was, Caucasian girls, right? Blonde,
Blonde hair, blue
big
eyes,
tits,
Yep.
super slim.
long legs, right?
Hmm.
Yeah. So I think you're right. I think nowadays we're seeing ladies with a wide variety of ethnicities. You know, and I can't see how that's. I mean, I just, yeah, it's changed. It really has changed because back in the day it was these girls were completely unattainable. Like you said, they were just paradigms. And nowadays you see people that look like you, that have your skin coloring or your facial features, and you have it feels more real now because the blush erotica
Hmm.
stuff is certainly feels real to me, you know. So that's, I guess, but you like you said, not all companies are embracing that ethic, right?
No, I really wish I think a lot of companies and a lot of the bigger companies should make that
Mm-hmm.
step forward because a lot of the porn there, like you said, it's
Yeah.
unattainable. I think it pushes a lot of unhealthy beauty standards on younger women, especially.
Mm-hmm.
Like, for example, Victoria's Secret, the model industry, all of that, constantly pushing into the face of women, this is how you're supposed to
Which
look.
is impossible
Hmm.
without surgery. But go ahead.
It's
Yeah.
impossible. I'm 4'10". I'm four foot
Yes.
ten.
That's not going to
A
change.
100 pounds, 110
Yeah.
pounds. I'm not going to be the Caucasian blonde hair,
Yeah.
blue eye. That is physically
Right, right. No
impossible.
matter what you do to alter yourself, you never get there. First of all, yeah. I mean, I
Hmm.
don't care what you do to you're not going to get there, and nor should you. So okay, that's all. These are good points. Now, before we go any further, let me just tell you everybody where we are. Chris, where are we, Chris, with today?
We're looking
Yeah,
non-vanilla,
little
which somewhere between Eugene, Oregon, and
and
New
in New
Jersey.
Jersey and this space that is our heads. We're talking with Lilith. Now, Lilith, do you just go by your first name, or do you go by your two names, or another name, in fact?
So I started with camming and I didn't know what to do. So I just threw Lilith Babes
Little
down,
babes.
but Lilith works just fine.
Lilith. Okay. So let's get into where we're going to talk about this at the end, and then I'll get when I blog about the show, we'll get all your socials up. But tell people out of your pretty little mouth where they can find you and all the links and all that good stuff for now. Just give us a little
All
teaser.
right. So right now you can find me on my Twitter, on my Instagram, and on my OnlyFans, as well as a Chatterbait.
Mm-hmm.
You can also find me on Fanbase, which is one of the newer apps.
Okay.
And pretty soon you'll be able to find me on My Free Cams, Mini Vids, X Videos, Pornhub, and Clips for Sale I'm looking at.
And this is all,
Wow, great.
yeah, that's a lot of stuff, right, Chris? Um,
Hmm.
so it's under Lilith Babes or just Lilith?
It's under Lilith Babes.
Lilith Babes. Okay. And again, Lilith, I will put this all up on the socials when the show goes up. I just wanted to hear it from your pretty little mouth because it's always nice when you hear it from the lady herself. Um, so Chris, we have an example here of a young woman who's working in the industry and is kind of making your way into the industry in an interesting way because things have changed. The paradigm has changed.
Hmm.
But we've seen a lot of different changes, Chris, you and I, right, over the years.
Oh God, yes.
You know,
I mean, just from like what is it, like film to video to DVDs, DVDs to the internet. I mean,
yeah,
it's like it's nonstop.
yeah. Yeah, and I think it's a good thing that we have what we have and where we're at. But so Lilith, what you she's moving again, Chris. Every time she moves,
Yes, I
no,
know. I
no,
gotta plug my phone in.
no, it's
No, we're not complaining.
no,
We're
we're
not
not
complaining.
complaining. Every time you move, we just get a different angle. So it's nice to get a different angle on you. Um, so so your day, what does your day entail then? Are you going on the cam early in the morning, and or do you go when you know there's a certain when you know you got fans looking? I mean, how does the day of a cam girl go? Tell us how that works.
All right, so I actually work a day job.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if I can give the title of that job. I probably shouldn't, just
That's
in
fine.
case. But
Oh, yeah. Well,
I
only what you're
it's in the
comfortable with.
HR realm.
Okay.
It's in the HR realm.
Okay.
So I work an office day job from 6:30 to 4:30,
Okay.
and then I try to get onto cams from 5 p.m. until 8 or 9 p.m.
Okay. Okay. And this is every day? Or are you doing the weekends too? I mean, what?
I try to do it Monday to Thursday.
Okay.
I do have my child,
Oh, yeah, right. Oh, well,
so
that's kind of important, right?
I take I take Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I
Right.
have my
Right.
child
Okay.
full time.
Okay. And what? This always interests me, Chris. You know the difference of what a lady will do on cam and what she'll do in a scene. So what will you and
Hmm.
what you don't what? Let's first talk about what you like to do on cam. What's your favorite thing to do on cam?
Okay, so my favorite thing to do on cam, as you can imagine, is probably the tip flashes.
The tip.
It
Say that
always
again.
always is popular. And then I also do the spanks and the tipping for spanks, and those are like my two favorite things.
Okay. Oh, well, women after our own
My
heart,
least
Chris.
favorite, my least favorite is probably whenever someone tries to get me to like strip tease or dance.
Okay. Because again, that's
Yeah,
you're not coordinating
no
that way.
rhythm.
No, okay, I got you. All right. So you like to show off the girls when you can, and
Yes.
okay, and spank yourself.
Yes, and I really, what I love about Cam is definitely having the regulars and having the same people and
Right.
just talking. A lot of people on Cam go on there and watch the girls, not just for the sex and the entertainment, but just as somebody to talk to.
So does it ever get to the point, Chris? I always think about this, like, because you and I, we don't do any camming, so we just a little bit amount of like even something like this, right? So it can get confusing sometimes. I have to send Lilith like something on Twitter, and I have to, like, I get like, my 61-year-old brain just zips out. But anyway, um, I was wondering, Lilith, you're in the middle of doing a whole bunch of things. You're spanking yourself for somebody, and somebody else comes on, and like, do you ever get confused? You're like, oh shit, I got too much stuff going on, right in front of me. Does it ever get to that point?
So thankfully, things have evolved a lot especially with the Lovins is what I use.
Okay.
So I
Oh,
have
yes.
disconnected to most of my cam shows lately.
Yep.
Um,
Yeah, Chris, you've
and
probably
then
reviewed
I
that,
found
right?
out
Yeah.
that
I'm
I
a big fan
have
of Levins. I write about them all the time.
Okay.
I love them. I broke two lushes, so that's unfortunate. So I had to get that, and that looks a little more durable.
Okay.
But fingers crossed, it's more durable.
Oh,
So
he
Lovins
says
has
fingers
a
crossed, Chris.
whole
Yeah.
fingers crossed. Um, where was I? Oh, Lovins has a whole extension with camming,
Okay.
Hmm.
and it has like a whole chat box thing set up that the messages go to you with the tips. They're highlighted.
Oh, good. Okay.
It really streamlines the whole process.
Okay.
I try to keep up and remember things. Thankfully, my rooms don't. My rooms don't get too busy.
Okay. So, well, good. So in other words, they get busy. A couple of people, you get a good number of people, but not overabundance of all different people. Is what you're saying.
No, I would say I get around 50 to 100 viewers.
That's pretty good, huh?
Wow.
That's pretty freaking good.
That's
Yeah.
great.
Wow.
Um, Most of the people on like the first front pages, they will have 11,000, 20,000 at a time.
But you're comfortable with
Wow.
the 50, and you're just comfortable. You're like,
I mean, I would love to have the
yeah,
11,000.
right, right, right,
I think that would be cool.
right. Yeah. Well, so then let's talk about a scene. Then what would be your favorite thing to do in a scene? or you what you're saying to yourself, wow, this I really would like to do this in a scene, and what you know is a hard no, like I'm never going to do this in a scene.
So some of my hard no's I found through trial and error.
Oh, well, that's how we.
One of them I found is like the face fucking, the throat fucking.
Hmm.
Can't do that.
Yeah,
Cannot.
Chris has a hard time with that himself. We've been on trips together. And I'm like, Chris, and he's like, Ralph, just not tonight with the face fucking, okay? Just anyway, go ahead.
Poor gag reflex.
Yeah,
That's what I'm
Chris,
blaming
he's
it
got a
on.
big gag reflex. Okay, go ahead.
See, same here.
He says the same
Oh,
thing. Anyway, I'm like, Chris, come on, we're on vacation, but he's just want to hear it.
what
Anyway.
happens in Vegas stays
Well,
in Vegas.
exactly. That's where we were, and I'm
Exactly.
like, Chris, we're
That's
in
it.
Vegas. Come on. But anyway,
That's it.
okay. So that's a hard no for you. The face fucking.
Definitely hard no for me. What I would really love to do, as I would love to work with other creators. I would love to shoot a scene with another girl.
Mm-hmm.
I would like one of my dream scenes is definitely like a gangbang.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And I think as far as hard limits go, of course I have them. For me personally, it's bodily fluids like urine and scat,
Mm-hmm.
needles, blood play, knife play.
Right. Yeah, we're in the same point. Yeah, Chris and I,
Yeah.
we've been involved in a lot of kink, conventions and stuff together. We, taught at them and stuff, and right, Chris, we have a little problem with the needle play and the scat and the medical stuff. That's just not our thing,
Ugh. It gives me the willies. I mean, if you're into that,
Yeah,
perfectly
man, it's all
cool.
good.
But for me, it's like, nope, sorry.
I have
just,
a fear of needles, so it is not for me.
Yeah, just,
Same with me.
just-
Exactly.
I can't even look. I don't even get a flu shot anymore because I cannot look while they do it.
Yeah, we're just we've been to the conventions, right, Chris? And there's always a medical room in the dungeon. There's always a dungeon and a medical room, and we have literally passed the medical room like this. We just go past it like speculums
Nope.
It's just there's stuff we both
It
kind of.
looks so cool. Like I wish I could be into it. I really do.
Well, the apparatus is, there are cool apparatus and stuff, but then when you get down to the kinks themselves, Chris and I both go, we kind of pass the rooms that way. Not our thing.
I had a friend who pointed out that some of the scariest people to play with are like doctors, nurses, and med techs.
Yeah, right.
Because they know how to do this stuff and they do it all the time, so they have no qualms about it.
Right.
So it's like playing with them. It's like, okay, you want me to, use a scalpel or a needle or whatever. It's like no problem. It's like that's creepy.
Yeah, that's not my thing. Yeah, so I can see. But you did mention the spanking on the cam. Are you interested in being a sub in a scene at all?
I am a switch. I definitely lean towards submissive heavily. In my personal life, my partner and I are very interested in BDSM.
Okay.
We are definitely have been looking and trying to find local dungeons and looking for places to go. Right now, we might have to put a pause on some of it just because I don't know what sort of weird looks you'll get if you suspend a pregnant woman from the ceiling.
Yeah, probably. Well, I'm sure there's a page for that somewhere. I'm sure there's.
Oh yeah, there's a kink for everything.
Yeah, there's a lube for every hole. So okay, so tell us. We're going to round up the end here. What's coming in the near future for you? What do you think's on the horizon as far as what you're shooting or what you're hearing or what you're thinking about getting into?
I know I shot another scene with Blush Erotica the same night that they haven't released yet in the VR.
Okay.
I would love to shoot more VR. And I do see myself shooting more with Blush Erotica. I will shoot with them as long as they'll have me.
Yeah.
I would love to work with other studios and creators.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think
I'm just like, I don't know how to reach out.
Well, I guess there's ways to do it. I mean, you can book yourself by yourself, or you can get an agent too, right? There's all different ways to do it. I know that every time I get a press release across, even a press release from an agent, sometimes, Chris, I see if you want to contact this person for an interview, contact the press agent. But then if you want, you can. But she's self-booking. So I've seen, I've seen that across the board. Just because you have an agent for your press doesn't mean you're not self-booking. So I've seen all different ways to do it. I guess it's just a matter of just doing more work, right? Just it's like
Yeah,
it's a
social
catch
media. I
22.
mean, yeah, just do some social media work. I'm sure probably if you reached out to some of the studios, though, of course, half the time it's like you have to find one that actually responds to
Yeah, well,
social
that's true
media.
too. Yeah, yeah,
Um,
Yeah,
but
I'd
I'm
have
sure
to.
they would probably love to work with you.
yeah.
I can't imagine there's too many. That's another big problem. I can't imagine there's too many up this way in New Hampshire and the New England area. A lot of them seem to be in California and Florida.
Right, you're right about
Hmm.
that. Yeah, Nevada and yeah, there's not. I don't know if New Hampshire's the hotbed of pornography. Tell you the truth.
Probably not.
Yeah, probably not. Maybe maybe what's going down in maybe some crazy people in Keene, but other than that, there's nothing going on. Yeah, and the only reason I say Keene is because I've been there about my whole. That's like the one time I've ever been to New Hampshire. I was in Keene. But, where's Ben and Jerry's in Vermont? Is Ben and Jerry's in Vermont?
I think they're in
I
Vermont, but
think so.
I can't
Yeah,
remember.
yeah. Because I was up there and went to Keene, and then I remember going to Ben and Jerry's. But I think that was Vermont. So, yeah. So yeah, I don't know about New Hampshire being a hotbed of. Well, where's
I can't imagine that
no,
it
I,
is.
I don't know. Where's Blush Erotica? Where are they based? I don't even know where they're
They
based.
are in New Hampshire.
Are they? No shit. Are they
Well, they
really?
are. Huh,
Because I
They
met them.
are.
that surprises me.
I met them in at Exotica, New Jersey. Um, in October because I had been writing for them and they said, "Oh, we're going to be there," and we met them and stuff. And you know, but I didn't know where they were from. For some reason, I thought they were Las Vegas, but I guess I knew they were doing some shoots in Las Vegas when they were in Las Vegas. But that doesn't mean that's where they're based. Okay, New Hampshire. See, so we're all
They
wrong. What do
actually
how
have
we
the
know?
cutest. They have
See?
the cutest studio in New Hampshire. It's only I want to say an hour and a half away from me.
Okay, all right. Well, if Blush is listening, you need to get Lilith in for every scene that you ever shoot, and you need to get Ralph in and do more scripts. That's what you need to do. Ralph needs to write scripts for Lilith, and because he's and it certainly would be centered around her tatas and I'm sure. Anyway, okay, Lilith, we're gonna let you go. Chris and I'll stay on for a little while, but this has been very informative because it's interesting to talk to a cam girl. I don't know if we've done that before, Chris. Have we talked to a cam girl before?
I think we've had a couple that use maybe a little bit, but
Yeah.
not exclusively.
It's cool that they get that perspective, from somebody who actually is working cam and tells us what's going on there. That's really interesting. So Lilith, okay, we got all your socials. We'll get them up, and so you do have a Pornhub, or you don't have Pornhub yet?
I do have a Pornhub. I just don't have anything uploaded yet.
Oh, okay, all right. Well, there you go. Okay, and we can also find her. Do you remember the name of the scene in Blush Erotica that you shot? The name of the scene?
The name of the scene I wanted to say it was After Work Release.
Okay. I wonder what that was about, Chris. After work release. What do you think that was
We'll
about?
find out. That's for sure.
What was that again? Blush Erotica. Yeah. Yeah, everybody got to go to Blush Erotica right now. Lilith, thank you so much for taking it. We're going to have you on again.
Yes,
I'm warning you
absolutely.
now.
It's delightful.
I'm warning you
I
now.
would love to be on again. Thank you so much for having me.
You're very welcome, and I'll be in touch with you, on the slide just to give you some information about what we did here today, and we'll grab some pictures from you too, so we can put them up on the blog. That's my excuse for getting pictures of you. That's
Well,
I
it's
was
a lot
wondering about
classier than the
that.
normal guy's approach.
it's just, can I see a picture? Yeah, the drool coming out of your mouth. Yeah, like, and my hands
Am
below my
dying
waist.
in hospital. Send boobs now or I die.
Send boobs. Mars needs boobs.
Exactly.
Yeah. My hands are below my waist. Yeah, I got you. The whole thing. You've been nothing but darling to us. We really appreciate your time.
Yeah, it's been absolutely
It's
fantastic.
wonderful, and we're like I said, we're going to stay on and talk a little bit. We'll do a talk about you, but it's all going to be only good. So, but like our producer said, you just stay on there, or mute whatever you need to do, and we'll keep you in there so it keeps recording your stuff. If we could do that.
All right.
Thank you very
Well,
much.
thank you for having me. You guys have a great night.
Okay, bye-bye.
You too. It was wonderful.
What a nice,
Take care.
what a sweetie, huh,
Oh, that
Chris?
was wonderful.
Yeah.
We are so blessed. We are so blessed doing this. I mean, I don't think we've ever had anybody who I consider to be, not less than wonderful.
Yeah, well, most people want to come on and talk about what they do because they want to get they want to get a little press or whatever. And with a podcast, you don't know. I mean, we say this all the time, Mark. Mark shows me the metrics, and we got like a hit from Ukraine. I mean, they're in the middle of a war and they're still watching. But so like it's weird. It's just a weird. And I was talking to PJ, who we had on from RoboBabes. Remember PJ?
Oh yeah, he was delightful.
And
PJ's
I
a
spoke to him
trip.
3 hours yesterday, and
Oh my
we were
God.
talking. He
Well, give
said
him my
he
best for
said
sure.
he's not as concerned about hits all the time. He just likes the fact that stuff is out there, and sooner or later somebody will find it and it'll come that way. But you know what he said to me? This is very funny. This is him saying it. He said, so he's saying about the history of Ireland and how he's pretty ensconced in history. He's a student of history. So he goes, so I go to this thing on Ireland that was like a meeting of pirates or something. He says like, when do Ireland have pirates? He says like, what the hell, And then he said to me, you ever notice, you listen to an Irish guy speak, he said, and this is him saying it, it's not me saying it. He said, you ever notice when an Irish guy speaks, it sounds like a pirate? And I'm like, yeah, you know what? You're right. Like, he's like, yeah, and I'm like, like I said, where's the bird? Like I'm still gonna, and I was like, you know what? And it's him saying it, so I was like, I didn't say it, but it was really. You ever notice those Irish guys? Everything sounds like a pirate. I'm like, holy shit, that's fantastic. Now I'm going to say one more time, we're on Licking Non-Vanilla. That's what you're listening to with M. Christian and
You poor unfortunate soul. Yes.
Yeah, you fortunate. Now, before we go off, Chris, I want one thing I want to talk to you about. Did you hear about Space and Time was stopping their submissions over the AI program because they're getting bombarded with fiction from AI programs? Did you read that?
I heard that. I'm kind of skeptical because, the chat GTX or whatever it's pronounced or spelled, it's not that good.
Right.
And I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I'd be curious to find out about that because I did hear that.
Yeah.
And I haven't played with it myself. It's on my to-do list to try and play around with it because I've messed with the visual programs,
Right.
DALL-E and so forth.
Right.
But I've never used that one, and I would be very surprised if it actually creates anything that would even be remotely passable.
Well, that's what they were saying.
But I would be kind of curious.
Well, they got a bunch of fiction, and he said it was also interestingly enough from a certain part of the world. He didn't say which. But he said he was getting it. He said it was obvious even without running any kind of metrics on it, logistics or algorithms, that it was from a program. It wasn't from a person. So, but they got dumped with it, which I thought. I mean, look, it's ironic that a well-known science fiction magazine, which Space and Time is, right? It's been around a long time. They're having a problem with this kind of a problem with technology, which is interesting that they're getting fiction that's not created by people, or more or less, and they're saying that they knew it from the jump. They just knew it from the jump. So I think you're right. I think it's obvious that this stuff is not produced by writers like you and I. Well, you're a robot, but other than that,
I'm a cyborg.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
It's like I'm sorry, but that's an
artificial
offensive
person.
term. But
I always forget.
Exactly.
Person, right?
Exactly.
With a detachable penis, right?
Exactly. It's I'm not going to go into the specs because they're quite impressive. But
That's right.
it's funny you mention that because I remember reading a story by Simak a very long time ago. I need to dig this thing up because I really want to do an article or something about it because I can't remember the name of the story. I know it was by Simak and it was about a bunch of people, a bunch of writers, and they all have machines called yarners.
Okay.
And I love that term.
Yeah, that's cool.
And the yarners are basically like an artificial intelligence that they can adjust dials and so forth, and it produces a story. And I know the main character was lamenting the fact that their machine was out of date, so they couldn't sell a lot of stories.
Okay.
And there was one writer among them who kept selling a lot of stories. And this one character was jealous and managed to find out that this person actually didn't use a yarner.
Oh, okay.
They were actually making up the stories.
Right, actually writing the story.
And I just think that is just so prescient.
That's pretty good.
Prescient. I mean, it's just like I have to dig that story up. I know it exists because I remember reading it, but I just love the idea that I mean, certain things like the articles that I'm writing right now probably could be written by an AI.
Right.
No insult to my talent
Right.
or ability, but
Right.
God knows they're pretty formulaic.
Right.
But fiction is kind of different.
Yeah, I agree.
But it's still fascinating to see how they work. I mean, I really love looking at some of the stuff that Midjourney and DALL-E does, because you can tell it to do things like, I want to see Bambi as directed by H.R. Geiger.
Right, right.
It's just
Yeah, I mean that's going to be pretty wild. Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, I heard about that. I'd be very curious though to find out exactly what these. I mean, it could very well be just be like it's a troll farm or something like that.
Yeah, I don't know. I
Somebody
mean, he
who's
just said that you've got a bunch of it, and they had to shut down submissions because they got too many of them. Not that, I don't know about you. I've sent it to Space and Time, and have been soundly rejected. But I tend to think, and we talked about this before, and this is, a small point that only other sci-fi writers are going to get, but there is a little click goes on in certain these magazines, and I was in Barnes and Noble today, and I saw a couple of I saw Analog and Asimov and F and SF, the few that are left, and same names. I see the same names over and over again. So I don't know. I don't know. Even given all this, are they looking at all the fiction that's been sent them, even if it's not AI produced? I don't know. I don't know.
I have no idea. I mean, I really love it when I can write fiction. In fact, I try and do at least once a week. And I have this thing. For a long time, I was like you. I just would send out stories left, right, and center, and got depending on where it was going, I get either no or very little success. And I've just kind of made a promise to myself that I want to keep writing fiction, but I'm going to do it only for places that specifically ask me to do it. Because I don't really want to deal with that headache of writing something you really believe in, and then for whatever reason it doesn't, isn't accepted. It's just too brutal. I mean, I'm too old for this shit. I just, maybe it's silly, but I just prefer to when you were wonderfully doing Grand Falloon, and my friend, Cynthia Ward is doing something. It's like, yes, I'll write you a story in a heartbeat. But I'm not going to write for blind publications anymore. It's just too brutal.
Well, and although there's a lot online, it seems to me there's less. Well, there's certainly less printed. I mean, that goes without saying.
Oh yeah, that's pretty much dead.
And those biggies, like I just mentioned, I just see the same names over and over again. So, but as always, the listener here has wasted an enormous amount of time listening to two freaking blockheads just ramble on. But we started the show wonderfully with Lilith Babes, and got a good perspective for her. She's a just cute little girl, and
oh, absolutely, gotta get her back on for sure.
Yeah, she's adorable, and we thank her for her time. And this show will be up, and this is going to be number 49, I think, because Mark was saying 40. We're coming close to 50. I know that 50 of these, Chris. We've been doing this for. Since Marconi.
For 50, we get naked.
Yeah, well, I think it was we did this originally with Marconi, didn't we? When he invented the radio, and then So, but anyway, we thank you for listening and looking in, as we always do. This has been Licking Non-Vanilla. My name is Ralph Redwood Jr. I am one of the hosts here. Over there is the other host.
Chris, otherwise known as M. Christian.
And we'll see you next time, my little droogs. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Lilith Babes. And we'll see you soon, guys. Bye-bye.
And visit us on the web at www.lickingnonvanilla.com.